Good morning, everyone. I think that there's a few people trickling in. We'll let people get settled. I will just tell you that I am also here with our 4 teacher consultants to help us answer questions, and we will be answering questions at the end of this. And I'll say it again when everybody is in, but I'm here with Diane Costello, Sheila Chamberlain, Laura Hines, Patricia Sprano. They work for Cognia. They are teachers in their own rights, administrators, and everyone has their own specialty that they bring to the table. So that's who is on this call. I am going to go off camera so you have the nice big PowerPoint for you to review as we go along. So let's talk about a couple of things. You are on mute. You'll see that there's a question answer button. Please save that. Jot your questions down, but we're not going to answer till the end. It's not going to go a full hour and a half. We're going to just stick to what's new for 2023. And so hopefully we can get that done in a shorter amount of time. If you have questions that start with, I have a student who, those are typically things you don't want to share with everyone. You can send those to me directly. My email will be at the end of this presentation. It has the generic MCAS mailbox, but that just adds an extra step. So just use my email. And if I'm not doing a training, which I've been doing for the past month, I'm typically available to answer your questions if you call. So the number is also on the board for you. We will put in the chat any links that will help you. So please feel free to use them. This is our agenda for the day. As you can see, or for the morning, excuse me, it's not a ton of things. There's some really informational items for you, our results from the spring, observations from scoring. Number 3 is what you come for, the updates and reminders. We want to give you some tips on completing quality assessments, and we want to make sure that you're designating the appropriate students for the ALT. And last but not least, we always give you our contact information, and also we have websites where you can find mostly everything that I'm going to talk about here today. Okay. So I'm not going to go through all these dates because today is the last update. And for those of you that were bumped to today, I want to apologize for any inconvenience for the unforeseen canceling of that. I'm sorry that we caused you any problems, but I'm glad you were able to come today. So all of these that you see here are going to be available at the website that'll be in the chat. They aren't ready yet. You have to give us a little time. Once we finish with these, we have to, I say we, but Cognia edits them, makes sure they're accessible, sends them out for closed captioning, and then we post them on our website, on the MCAS-Alt site, and also at the department site. So please be patient with that. They are coming. However, if you're interested in any of this information, it's all available on the MCAS-Alt material site as far as the PowerPoints and any samples that I showed. So you can still get the information, and we have the educator's manual that lays it out step by step for you. So all of that's still available to you, but the actual recorded session will be in another week or so. The only thing that we do have left are the 2 administrators overview. One will be Wednesday, the 26th, and the other will be November 2nd. So if you know an administrator that you think would benefit from coming, please let them know these dates. They should be very helpful for them. And if you had a student that, or have a student that you think is working close to grade level and you want to check out anything about competency and grade level, these will also be recorded and put up. Robert Pellicciati is the person that you would want to contact about that. If you have any questions, he's the person that can help you. So let's look at the results that we have from 2022. It was only last April that you put these in, and we had 6,231 students participate. So if we break that down, ELA was 5,960, which you can see then in 2021, and math has also gone down from 2021. Science is the only one that went up, but if you recall, we did not assess grade 10 in 2021, so that shows why it went up slightly in science and tech engineering. Overall, we had 1.28% of students that took the MCAS-Alt in 2022. Excuse me, in 2021, it was 1.3, although 1.28 would still round up to 1.3. We haven't gone down that much. For those of you who have been attending this with Dan, he would talk a lot about the 1%, which we'll get to later, but not in great detail. That 1% cap for all students taking the alt is what we're looking to move that needle down a little bit, making sure that only the students that should be taking it are taking it. And this is an interesting number. This 37,973 strands, that's how many strands you submitted last year. And that's how many strands we had to score in the spring. And last year we had the teacher survey. This is something we do every other year. So last year, a good portion of you did respond, and I'm very grateful for that. So 90% of you responded to the survey out of 1,849. That's 1,600 of you did. That's great. Thank you. And there were a lot of questions, but I think this is one that we all want to know. How many assessments did each teacher submit? So 88% submitted between 1 and 6. And then we break that down a little bit more. So 61% of you submitted between 1 and 3, and 27% submitted between 4 and 6. And those are reasonable numbers. When we get up to 7 through 10, that's quite a few. Fortunately, we're under 10% of you, but that's still a high number. And more than 10, I think, is unwielding. It's still a small number, 2.5, but I think it's 2.5 too many. So if you have that many students that you're doing, you might want to talk to your administrator about seeing how you can get some help. Also, every year we have quite a few come to the introduction, and last year 340 of you did the MCAS-Alt for the very first time. That's 20%. So we won't have a survey this year, we'll have one next year. And this is our statewide results. This is all content area, all grades. I think if you look at the charts starting with progressing, you can tell when we've added things like the ELA writing, the skill survey, the new science. It does tend to dip a little bit, but this year it went up. Emerging went up, awareness went up, but the best part is incompletes went down, and we're going to keep working on that to make sure that we can get those incompletes down. Some observations from scoring. Just to let you know, every year we take our team with us, and we also invite Massachusetts teachers that we consider expert training specialists. They understand the process, and we invite them to come score with us for that vacation week. And we work with the scorers, and they have what we call table leaders, and they help the scorers. At the end of the scoring process, we work with all of those people and get their feedback. Many of the scorers have been coming back with us year after year, so they are aware of what we've done in the past and how things are now. So what went well? They believe that the evidence and the data seemed much better organized than in previous years. They saw fewer sheet protectors and more dividers. Again, those are recommendations, not necessities, but those sheet protectors are difficult for scorers. They cause a reflection, and we don't want them touching your evidence. Teachers seem to be adjusting to the new STE assessment, but we'll talk about those challenges in a few minutes because they definitely were there. fewer missing skills survey. And I think if we had to thank Cognia for that print multiple function, I think that saved a lot of people because it printed out the skill survey along with your strand cover sheet. And definitely a better application of the teacher documented work sample. And I'm going to talk about what that teacher documented work sample is. I think you can probably guess, but using those instead of including photos as evidence was very helpful. Some of the reasons why those M's are remaining, an M, just a reminder, doesn't just mean missing. Sometimes it just is insufficient information for us to score the strand. So just remember, M isn't always missing something. But for the ELA reading didn't include the text titles, or it was unclear if you used it, whether it was literary or informational. And because we didn't have a small sample of the text, we couldn't determine which it was. Also, at least one of the 3 required writing samples was missing. And a big one this year was either blank or missing scoring rubrics. I'm not sure why they weren't filled out or put in, but they weren't there. And that is your part of your requirements, is to pre-score those writing rubrics for us. And a lot of times there were not 3 different writing samples submitted. So remember, they need to be in different topics. Then the summary sheets, the STE summary sheets listed fewer than 3 practices. We needed 3 different practices, and we didn't see that a lot. Also, and this is one that you're very familiar with if you've been attending for many years, either the evidence or the brief descriptions or both did not document the skill in the measurable outcome. And this is something new we noticed this year, and we want to nip this in the bud. It said student did not respond, and that was either listed on the work sample or on a data point where it was 0% accurate and 100% independent. Sometimes you want to see what the student can do independently. So you give them a math worksheet and they put all the wrong answers in, and they don't really know because you haven't really taught the skill. You just wanted to know what they know. That's 0% accuracy and 100% independent. But if you give the student a worksheet and they don't do anything, they're not independent, and they didn't do anything. There's nothing there. So make sure that if it's 0% independent, the student put something there. There's still some student involvement. They just got it all wrong, and they were 100% independent. So try another time or lower the complexity, but don't put those in, okay? So here are the updates. I know this is the important part for you. You want to know. Hopefully you know this because you saw it in the newsletter, or perhaps you read it through the Board of Education. But this school year is the final year that grade 10 can submit the science, chemistry, or tech engineering. And that's for both MCAS and MCAS-Alt. So if you have a grade 10 high school student, this is your last year to do what we call legacy. However, perk up those of you who have students in grade 9. Students in grade 9 may not do chemistry or tech eng. They can only continue with biology or introductory physics. Remember that it can be done over 2 years. And if you are grade 9 students, you cannot do it over 2 years, and you can only do bio or introductory physics. Make sure that you complete that skill survey prior to choosing an entry point. We want to make sure that you're using that skill survey to help you determine, at least narrow down your choices for entry point. And the important part here is that they are due Friday, March 31st. Just a reminder, you want to have them done at least a week before. You need time to be sure you have all the material you need to fill out the student identification booklet. You need to get it to someone who's going to review it. You need to have a copy of that in case you have to do an appeal. So you should really consider these to be ready the week before. They need to be shipped by 5 o'clock on Friday, March 31st. New names and the same function. So the portfolio cover sheet isn't going to change, just the title is going to say MCAS-Alt cover sheet. And those feedback forms, the portfolio feedback forms that you get that come in the front of the portfolio when you receive them back, those will be called MCAS-Alt feedback forms. And I mentioned this, the teacher scribed worksheet, we're going to call teacher documented worksheet. There's many times in writing especially, but it doesn't have to be just writing, where you as the teacher are scribing for the student. Either their work is illegible or you're going to mention in the writing piece. And so we say a teacher scribes it. That is different. So we want to call the teacher documented worksheet because that's what you're doing. You're documenting what the student is doing, and it's going to be very clear to us what the student did. So that's just a name change, but the functions remain the same. Then we have a couple of resources available to you. One is a math glossary. There's many people that struggle with some of the math concepts, and we want to make sure that you don't get an incomplete for teaching the wrong concept. So we've created this with the help of our math guy, who many of you should know, Jim Bertolino. He's helped to give us some examples and some definitions of math concepts that we use quite frequently. And that's going to be very helpful. Obviously, you can still use Google or go to your content people, but this is a helpful tool. Next is the STE topics and instructional material that's related to the core idea. This is new for those of you that attended the science program session. You did see it more in depth. I'm not going to go in depth here. Again, that recording is available to you in a week or so, but this is what it looks like. So if you have the core idea, there'll be a list of topics that are related to that core idea so that you can determine what is the best core idea for you to choose. You know, maybe you're going to do something about the environment, how examples of ways that humans can reduce their impact on the earth. And that's a fun one to do. So you choose that for your students. But now we have these related units, and you'll see underneath those are links. So if you download the PowerPoint, you can link to them. Those links relate to those topics. And you can see that they're at different grade levels. This is also in our Forms and Graphs program, so you can go in there and check them out. You're going to just have to register, and when you register for those units, all they're asking for is your email, and it'll say register. It looks like you can't access, but you can't access it until you register, which it just means it wants your email. Check them out. They're already vetted. These are high quality curriculum units. They're at different levels. You will have to do some adapting for your students, but all the material you need, the instructions, everything's laid out there for you. So think about trying them, even if you just want to try one. If your grades 5 and 8, you have to do 3 disciplines. Sometimes one of these units will give you entry points that you can use in other disciplines. They won't give you entry points, but you will find that when you're doing the unit, some of the investigations and some of the hands-on things you're doing with the students will definitely give you some of our entry points. So please check that out. We have just a wealth of knowledge with our teacher consultants and our training specialists that work with us that are always helping us. So we're always asking for strategies and success and suggestions as to how to make everything more efficient and to raise the quality of our portfolios. Number one, and I'm sure if you've been doing this a while, you know that you need to start early in the school year. And also connecting what you're going to do for teaching with the alternate assessment. What do you already teach? Think about reading comprehension, expressive communication skills. Those are meaningful goals for our students, and those are things that you work on a regular basis. It's much easier to collect the data and evidence if it's already part of what you're doing. Don't make a one day like a separate MCAS-Alt day. Make sure you're integrating it in what you're doing. Think about ways in which you can just have a system in place that you can collect that data and evidence. When you do a science unit, there's ways that you can integrate the math skills as well as the reading and vocabulary. You reach out to content teachers. Most teachers are willing to share not only ideas, but their materials. And then you can, if you have to modify it, you can. And you're always going to start at the grade level entry points and spiral down, because you want to make it as meaningful and appropriate as possible, but you also want to challenge the students. You don't want to continually teach something they know. Let's try and fill in those gaps of skills they're missing. Are there times that you can include the students with their gen ed peers? Or is there a way to do some reverse inclusion? Think about a systematic way to collect data and share that with all the staff that's working with your student. Be sure to include those specialists that come into your room, or maybe they take your child out for a language group. Be sure you tell them what you're working on so they can collect data for you. And be sure to document the independence at the time of instruction, because you do forget. Accuracy, that's not a problem, but independence, have a way that you can document it right at the time of instruction. And self-evaluation or self-determination is most effective when it's embedded in their instruction. Make sure it's part of your daily routine. Let the students start to think about how they are doing. And that's just best practices. Supporting documentation. This is always very helpful at scoring. When we're not quite sure, or your brief descriptions are not as clear as they could be, but then we see this supporting documentation, and then it's like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing here. So something like the math rounding bingo, interesting and, very helpful for us to see how it's done in the context of the activity. Also for writing, when our students are using communication systems or communications boards, either one static or dynamic, it is helpful to see what their choices are. A screenshot works for us. As you can see, this teacher gave us 3 different ones, like from the beginning, and then when they clicked inside, and then what they chose. So it doesn't have to be quite as in depth as that one, but it is very helpful to have that those dynamic boards as supporting documentations. We talked about this, about having organized alts and how our scores felt they were definitely more organized this year. Using divider tabs or colored paper between the two, that really does help separate the strands. No staples or sheet protectors, please. That's very helpful. Also, making sure that your pre-scored writing rubric reflects the same date as that final writing sample, so we don't have to guess or figure out which one is which. It's very, very helpful to have those dated the same date. And make sure your photo consent form are kept on file. It's a separate form for MCAS-Alt. It's not that generic form that we send home at the beginning of the school year. This is specific to MCAS-Alt. If you don't have that and your parent reviews the portfolio and if they haven't signed that, they will not be happy. So please make sure that you have that on file at school. And just a reminder, when students are selecting the self-eval, make sure that it's done at the time that they're completing it, or however you're going to do their self-evidence. Don't wait until March and give them a pile to just go through and dab whatever they want. Make sure it makes sense to them. And include the students in this portfolio. Have them do the artistic cover for their assessment. Student introduction, again, include your SLP and have them help you with that. Make sure all of these things reflect the student's input. We have a couple of checklists for you. The content checklist you can just print out and keep that someplace so you can mark off whether or not you have done all of the pieces you need to do. That's on page 23 of the Educator's Manual. And also, you remember the checking for completeness questions. This is a wonderful tool for you. The questions we asked the scorers, pretty much. I mean, they may vary a word or two here, but pretty much this is what we ask the scorers about your portfolio. So go through this completeness questions as you know when you're getting closer to March, and make sure that you can answer yes to all of them. If you can't answer yes, then something isn't quite right. And as always, we're going to have our review sessions in January. We'll get those dates out to you in the next newsletter, but we'll have 3 in-person, yay, right? Finally, get 3 in-person portfolio review sessions, and then we'll have 2 virtuals for those of you that find it difficult to get out of class, or you just have a couple of questions and you don't really want to drive too far. So that'll be coming your way soon. So stay tuned for that. I know that Erin has put this website in the chat 100 times, but just in case, make sure you have it. Go in there and bookmark it because we are always updating that site for you. And hopefully you are familiar with the tools you need so that you're selecting the correct participation, the correct assessment for participation for your particular student. So you should be familiar with the decision-making tool. Parents should receive a notification letter when their student is designated for MCAS-Alt. There's a training presentation for all IEP teams, and also, annual district training for teams is required. If you are not familiar with the decision-making tool, please bring it to the attention of your administrator or special ed administrator. It looks like this. It's also now translated so your parents can follow along with you. There's, I believe, 10 translations available. It's very important that the parents understand that if they stay on this track, there is no track. If they stay continually doing this every year, that their child will not receive a diploma. In 3rd and 4th grade, it's hard to say that because you don't know what's going to happen. But we want to make sure that we're giving the student every opportunity to take the standard test with accommodations. And these are important dates for you to remember, and I'm going to make sure your administrators have these dates as well, but you should know them because sometimes administrators need some reminders. So you're going to tell your administrator how many binders you need, and that will be the week of January 3rd, and it goes to the 13th. So if you get any new students, make sure they know that you have more students taking the alt than you originally did in January. Always let them know, okay? Those binders and all the submission material will come the week after February vacation. So it'll be that last week in February of 2023. So make sure that the administrators open the shipment and that it has as many binders and student identification booklets that you need. I told you the date that they need to be shipped, And then the preliminary results always come back about mid-June. It's right around there. It should be back before we are out for school. So make sure that you check with them. And we always post all the information they need to get into to the security portal to get them. And we tell them to share it with you. We always tell them, sometimes they need reminders. So here's the website that you can find so much information. And if you download this PowerPoint, you can click on that link, bookmark that link, then you'll have all the MCAS alternate assessment information. There's also the grade level and competency, as well as access for ELs. What I just talked about, the Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA, all that information is available there for you. And once you click on that, there's all those links to the decision-making tool and other things that some might be helpful for you, and others may be of interest, but you might not need it. And then I told you my email is here, and that's the best way to get a hold of me instead of the generic box. Robert Pellicciati is the appeals, MCAS appeals, accommodations, grade level, competency. All right. And there's the website for the DESE. There's our MCAS-Alt materials. And if you have any difficulty with forms and graphs, that's the technical support. It's not going to help you, pick a measurable outcome, just the technical support. Something wasn't going right. And so now we will take questions. So let's see what we have. Looks like people are starting to answer questions. Someone's asking about the MCAS-Alt is not eligible for a diploma, and that's because our students are working well below grade level. They aren't working at grade level and don't meet all the requirements for competency. Students can work at for competency through that competency portfolio, but our students are working well below grade level and therefore are not eligible for a diploma. I'm just going through these, trying to find some that everybody might have questions. For the person who's asking about whether you're access or not, this is for teachers who have done this prior. So you probably would want to go to two places. You want to go to the introduction where we discuss it, but you also want to go to our access skill PowerPoint. Julie's saying she's submitting more than 11 portfolios. What kind of support should you be receiving? I would go to administrator with what you believe you need. If you have a problem and you can go with a solution to your administrator, that's so much easier. So do you need more time? Do you need another para? Do you need a para to come in so you can put data in? Is there someone else that can do a couple of those portfolios? Think about what you need before you go to your administrator to get help. So the requirements, the list of strand requirements for 2023 can be found on that materials page. It can also, on that materials page in the introduction, you'll see a list of just the requirements for 2023. If you, so Anonymous is asking about a letter for a student that's taking the alt. That is under the ESSA that I just pointed out in on the DESE website. It's a form for the school system to put their own heading on it. So your school should have one already done, because this is like year 5, I believe, that we've been doing that. Courtney would like me to clarify the strands that say and or. So if you find an entry point that says and or in math, reading, or language, and or means you can do either skill. We are not requiring both. Only when the two skills related have just and must you do both, or choose just one. And that's in our educator's manual, and you can look that up as well. Sue's asking if there's a special photo release from DESE. Yes, for the MCAS-Alt, there's a special form, and it's in the forms. It's in the table of contents. So go to the table of contents and you'll see different forms like the verification form, and then there's a photo consent form. So make sure you use that one, send that one home. For those of you who have questions about the scoring piece of it, it's in the educator's manual. I'll get you the page if you're interested in it. Our rubrics are there, how they're scored is there. I think it's not really what we focus on. What we focus on is having complete and quality alternate assessments. So take a look at the rubrics that are there for each of the content areas, and I will get you that page number. I'm sure one of the teacher consultants has it on their fingertips, but so between page 50 and 51, and then all of the rubrics start on page 44. So go there if you're interested in how these are scored. Mary wants to know if there's some examples of student work. We do have it on our DESE webpage under samples. We don't have any science up there yet. We're trying to get it, but we haven't had the new science to put up. So there are examples of math and reading, and I believe language. So take a look on our website under samples and scoring. When you fill out the skills survey for a student, it's based on what they can do. If they need prompts, that'll tell you whether it would be under A, B, or C. And if they, D and E are for students that are doing it mostly independent, so like 75 to 100. So depending on how much help they need will depend on what column you're going to choose. Make sure you read the instructions for the skill survey. That will help you understand. Lucy, you're asking about a student that is just starting to read at grade 3 and if they're alt appropriate. That's got to be a team decision. You have to look at all of the evidence. You have to use the decision tree, but that is an IEP team decision. Okay, so please take that back to the team, fill out this, try doing the skill survey with the student. It may give the team some information that they need, and then you can determine if the student, maybe the student is appropriate for ELA as an alternate assessment and can do math as a standard test with accommodations, but go back to your team and have that discussion. One last thing while some of you are on, a lot of you have questions that would have been answered either during the introduction or during the science or writing. Please don't hesitate to go there. As I said, the recordings are not there, but all of the information is there. So go check those out. It seems like a lot of questions for things that would have come up in the intro or ELA writing and science. So use the resources we're giving you to get your answer right directly from there. Thank you everyone who attended. We'll see you in January.